Billionaire dad discovers heartwarming truth, twin girls' incredible story exposed in 5 minutes. Ethan James likely thought he knew everything about his world. The high-flying billionaire with a sprawling mansion on the outskirts of Chicago had all he could desire: money, power, and a life that glittered like the fall sky peeking through his glass windows. Yet, on that crisp autumn morning, as he poured his usual black coffee, the scent of sweeping change filled the air. A letter lay on his marble table, anonymous and taunting. It twisted his gut and ignited an ember of unease. His daughters, Lily and Mia, were trapped in a secret that could alter everything. What were they up to that had someone so concerned they'd de-written him? With each word he read, an unsettling feeling crept in. Who were these girls, his twin girls? They had once been the apples of his eye, but his relentless chase for wealth had led him away from their bond. Even their laughter had grown distant, swallowed by the echoing halls of his mansion. But this letter hinted at a side of them he had never seen. With heart pounding, he couldn't shake the flicker of curiosity. He decided to follow the thread. The more he dug, the more he realized how little he had actually known about Lily and Mia beyond their curated social media posts. They were leading community projects, organizing food drives for families grappling with financial despair, advocating for veterans who had sacrificed their lives. One moment, the towering walls of his empire felt like a prison, and the next, those very bricks, which had once soothed him, began to suffocate. How could he miss such kindness? His heart tightened in shame, but the tenuous connection frayed when he tried to engage them, only to be met with resentment. "Dad, you don't get it. You've been so busy, chasing dollar signs, you've ignored what really matters." Lily's voice pierced through the tension, illuminating a chasm he didn't realize existed. Mia's eyes, usually sparkling, were clouded with disappointment. Every word felt like a heartstring plucked painfully. He had built a fortress of wealth, but it had cost him the laughter of his girls. Then, in an emotional maelstrom, they shared a story that gripped his very soul. Their late mother had instilled in them the values of compassion and service. Her spirit practically echoed in their words, igniting Ethan's heartache. How foolish he'd been to chase ambition when they held the very essence of what made life rich and beautiful. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Ethan sat on the edge of his opulent chair, feeling small amid the vastness of his wealth. This wasn't about money, it was about connection, and he was losing that dear relationship to a world of fleeting status. Just as he considered finding a way back to them, a crisis erupted in the community they fought to uplift, shaking the very foundation they had built together. Could he seize this moment for redemption? As he stood at that crossroads, torn between his gilded past and the promise of his daughter's love, the commotion from the community center beckoned him. What he discovered inside could change everything, but would he find the courage to step into this new world before it was too late? Ethan's heart raced as he approached the community center, a place he had neglected far too long. The vibrant sounds of voices filtered through the open doors. Laughter, shouts of encouragement, and the clatter of bins being filled with food. This was the place where Lily and Mia had poured their passion into helping others. But what had sparked the frenzy today? As he stepped over the threshold, a wave of warmth washed over him. It felt alive. Unlike the cold, polished halls of his mansion, this room was bustling with energy. Kids were laughing, volunteers hustling about, and the air was thick with the smell of homemade chili simmering on a nearby stove. In that moment, he realized he had stepped into a world where all the money he had amassed meant nothing. "Dad!" Lily's voice shouted above the commotion, and he turned to see her rushing toward him, her hair flying back like a banner. She looked radiant, her cheeks flushed with passion. "You came." I saw the chaos," he replied, his voice thick. "What's happening?" There's been a sudden influx of families needing help, and we're overwhelmed. Mia chimed in, her eyes wide and excited. She grabbed his hand, tugging him deeper into the crowd. We're running low on supplies, and we need donations and volunteers. Ethan felt small again, but this time it was different. The vulnerability handed him an opportunity to join them, to advocate for something that mattered. What can I do? He asked, his voice firm. Anything. We need people to pack food items and deliver meals. If you have anything to spare clothes, money, this is a perfect time to use your resources. Lily beamed at him, though he noticed the flicker of doubt in her eyes. She was hopeful yet still cautious. Suddenly, a frail old man approached Ethan, a worn expression on his face. Excuse me, sir, his voice was shaky. I heard they might be organizing food deliveries. Is that true? Yes, it is, Ethan replied, his body straightening. We're in urgent need of help. Thank God, the man sighed with relief. I've got 3 grandkids to feed, and things are tight. As Ethan witnessed the gratitude on the man's face, something clicked inside him. This was real. Here was a community bound together by the struggle for a better life. He felt layers of his old self peeling away, revealing a core he'd abandoned, a part motivated by love and empathy, not profit. His daughters watched him, and he felt their eyes fill with encouragement. This was their moment together, their chance to redefine what family meant. But as he moved into the fray, a gnawing feeling of uncertainty seeped back into his mind. Would they trust him enough to let him in fully this time? With every package of food he handed out, he felt the warmth of connection blossoming little by little. Yet, the real truth lay ominously ahead. There were whispers in the hall, rumors of a corporate deal on the brink that could threaten their community center's funding. As he caught snippets of worried conversations, a cold chill gripped his heart. Would he be forced to choose between saving his business and his daughter's dreams? The challenge loomed larger than any transaction he had ever faced. Would he rise to defend the community they had fought to build, or fall back into his old ways? Ethan moved through the sea of bustling bodies, focused yet slightly lost. Kids were giggling, parents rallying, and volunteers were working as a united force. Each smile, each thank you, tugged at something deep within him. This place pulsed with humanity, and he was finally starting to feel like he belonged. Dad, over here. Lily called from a nearby table stacked with food boxes. He made his way to her, re-energized by her radiant enthusiasm. Do we have enough for everyone? He asked, glancing at the dwindling supplies. Not even close. Lily's brows knitted together. We're going to have to get creative. Grandpa Tom's bringing in what he can, and we're hoping for a few more donations. Ethan felt a spark of determination ignite in his chest. What if I reached out to some contacts? Maybe there are businesses or restaurants who'd be willing to pitch in. Mia nodded eagerly, that's a great idea. People want to help, they just need a push. Her excitement was infectious, wrapping around him like a warm hug. As they brainstormed, Ethan couldn't shake the whispers from earlier. The looming threat of that corporate deal skittered around the edges of his mind, casting shadows over the newfound light in the community center. If he proposed donating funds from his business, would it really help, or would it reinforce the very decisions he was trying to escape? Dad? Mia's voice pulled him back. Are you okay? Yeah, just thinking. He took a breath, shaking off the clouds. Let us focus on what we can do right now. A sudden commotion near the entrance drew his attention. A group of teenagers stumbled in, each carrying bags of groceries and boxes filled to the brim with food. They looked excited, like they had just won a contest. Hey! We heard about the emergency. We brought what we could. One of the teens shouted. Laughter and cheers erupted, the atmosphere shifting as the volunteers rushed to help unload the donations. Ethan watched with a swelling heart. The unity, the shared determination, it reminded him of the best parts of being alive. He stepped back momentarily, observing Lily and Mia dive into action, organizing the kids to sort and stack supplies. They were in their element, and it made him proud. "Dad!" Mia waved him over as she held up a colorful flyer. "Look! We're putting on a fundraising event next week. A dinner, a little raffle, and maybe even a bake sale. Can you help us spread the word?" Ethan blinked, the enormity of the idea striking him. "Absolutely. I'll call some of my connections tonight." He felt a thrill run down his spine. This was the moment he could step up and truly integrate into their world. Just when he was resolving to dive deeper into this newfound purpose, Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket. The name flashed on the screen, his business partner. Cautiously, he answered, keeping an eye on the joyous chaos around him. "Hey, what is going on? We need to talk. It's about the deal. You have to make a choice now." The laughter and chatter around him dulled as the weight of the conversation settled on Ethan's shoulders. The joy he had just felt flickered like a candle fighting against the wind. "Can it wait?" he asked, glancing at Lily and Mia, who were buzzing with energy. "Ethan, this could change everything." He took a step back, the world around him blurring as he faced a crossroads. Could he really walk away from everything he had built, all in the name of something a little more real? As he hung up, he caught Lily's eye, her smile illuminating his uncertainty. This was no longer just about business, it was about choosing family, connection, and truth. The decision loomed ahead, monumental and terrifying. Would he hold on to his past, or could he embrace the future? With thoughts swirling, Ethan felt the time slipping away. Something had to give. Ethan stood at the edge of the community center, his phone still buzzing in his hand. The world around him was vibrant, alive with laughter and hope, yet all he could feel was the weight of impending decisions pressing down on his chest. "Dad!" Lily's voice cut through the fog. She was beckoning him over, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she tapped the flyer, the one announcing their upcoming fundraising event. He forced a smile, trying to reflect her energy, but uncertainty gnawed at him. "Look at all these people." Mia chimed in, her arms spread wide. "They really care." "Yeah, they do," Ethan replied, glancing around at the crowd. Families were laughing together, volunteers shouting good-naturedly while onlookers offered silent support. It was a kaleidoscope of humanity, and for the first time in a long time, he felt something shift inside him. "Can you help organize?" Lily asked, pulling him back into the present. "We need someone to make calls, gather donations. You're the best at that." He nodded, knowing it felt right. A wave of determination washed over him. "Of course, I'll help." As they formed a plan, the warmth of his daughter's enthusiasm lit a fire in him. But the phone call from earlier loomed large. The very deal he'd been striving for hung above him like a storm cloud. "Hey, Dad." Mia's voice was softer now, the excitement giving way to concern. "You're sure you want to do this, right? I mean, what if it doesn't go well?" Ethan knelt down to meet her gaze. "What if it does?" he countered. "What if this is just the beginning of something amazing?" Mia's frown deepened, but there was a flicker of hope in her eye. "I don't want you to be unhappy. It's okay to change paths." Changing paths. The phrase echoed, a gentle nudge reminding him of what truly mattered. He glanced at Lily, who was talking animatedly with the other volunteers, her laughter infectious. This was where he needed to be. "Let us split up," he proposed, turning to Mia and Lily. "I'll call some businesses and see what we can drum up, while you both handle the raffle and food arrangements." "Deal!" They shouted in unison, racing off into the crowd. The sight of them, full of life and laughter, sent a rush of pride through him. He was their dad, but he was also their partner in this mission. As Ethan pulled out his phone, he hesitated. The corporate deal message still lingered in the back of his mind. He thought of his partner's warning, the financial security it promised. But then he thought of the joy surrounding him, the feeling of genuine connection that came from giving back. Before he could second-guess himself, he made the call, reaching out to local businesses. Each ring felt more empowering than the last. "Hi there. I'm organizing a fundraiser," and the laughter and chatter faded into the background as he spoke. One by one, voices on the other end responded positively. Donations flowed in. Hours passed in a flurry of calls, and the joy of giving was contagious. As dusk began to settle, Lily and Mia rejoined him, hands laden with flyers and smiles wide. "We're going to have the best event ever. People are so excited." Lily exclaimed, hardly able to contain her excitement. Ethan's heart swelled. "Let's keep pushing." He focused on the moment. The future felt brighter than ever. But then his phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from his business partner. "You can't ignore this. Meeting tomorrow. Don't let this slip away." An internal battle stirred within Ethan. Could he let go of the life he had built for a greater purpose? As uncertainty crept back in, he had to ask himself, was he truly ready to reshape his identity, and what would that mean for his family? The crossroads loomed closer, and he could feel the ground shifting underfoot. What would he choose? Would he pick the safety of the past or the promise of a fulfilling future with his daughters at his side? The air crackled with tension as he stared at the message, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. One last moment hung in the balance before everything would change. What would he say at that meeting? Tomorrow. Ethan took a deep breath, letting the chatter of the community center wash over him. His fingers hovered over the phone, a mix of excitement and dread spiraling within him. He gazed at the vibrant flyer for the fundraiser, the words blurring as he thought of what lay ahead. This meeting could secure his financial future or shatter the fragile hope building around him. "Dad!" Lily's voice called again, but this time it was tinged with urgency. She rushed toward him, her arm wrapped around Mia, who clutched a stack of colorful flyers. They had the same spark in their eyes, a reflection of excitement and ambition he hadn't felt in ages. "Look what we found!" Mia exclaimed, a giddy smile on her face. "We're going to set up a stand for baked goods. Everyone loves cookies. And we asked Ms. Thompson to help us." Ethan chuckled, the burst of joy in his chest easing the pressure a little. "Cookies. Sounds like a plan. Count me in for a taste test." They spent the next hour brainstorming ideas, laughter flowing between them like an invisible thread binding their hearts closer together. In this moment, the uncertainty of tomorrow faded. They mapped out a vision for the event, every suggestion more exciting than the last. The idea of coming together as a community, offering love and support, filled him with energy. Yet, behind it all, that text lingered urgent and insistent. The weight of his responsibilities clawed at him. The truth was, he wanted both, the stability that came with a successful business and the joy of truly living alongside his daughters. A part of him craved comfort. But another part burned for something new. Suddenly, the community center doors swung open. A wave of fresh faces poured in, filling the space with warmth and familiarity. Ethan felt a lump form in his throat. These were families, parents who cared deeply about their children's lives, neighbors who stood together against the odds, a tapestry of heart woven into his town. The moment grounded him, reminding him why he was here. But a voice rang loud inside his head, "What if you fail?" Ethan shook it off, forcing positivity into each thought. "Remember, the more we put in, the better we come out." Time slipped away as they made plans, the night sky darkening overhead. As the crowd began to thin out, Lily tugged at Ethan's sleeve, her excitement unabated. "What if we make a giant poster to advertise? Something bright. Like help us make a difference." "That's brilliant, Lily," he said, genuinely impressed. She beams at his words, and that simple act made him realize how much these small moments mattered, but just as they were about to wrap up for the night, his phone buzzed again. With a heavy heart, Ethan glanced down. Another message from his partner. "Last chance to discuss tomorrow's meeting. Time is running out." His heart raced. Would he really walk away from this joy for the promise of security? The conflict gripped him, pulling him between two lives, the one filled with love and hope and the one built on profit and numbers. Lily and Mia huddled together, laughing and scheming about their dream event. He watched them, their eyes shining with possibility. For the first time, he felt the fog of doubt lift slightly. "Dad? You okay?" Mia's concern cut through his thoughts, bringing him back. Ethan looked into their bright eyes, their unwavering belief in their project seeped into him, filling the empty spaces with warmth. If he chose this path, what would they think of him? More than anything, he wanted to inspire them, rather than be the man who followed a formula. "I'm more than okay," he replied, feeling the resolve ignite within him. As he put his phone away, clarity washed over him. "Let us finish planning. Tomorrow, we'll tackle that when it comes." But before they could leap into volunteer dreams again, a shadow of uncertainty clouded his joy. What if the choice he made led to disappointment, or worse yet, failure? And in that moment of doubt, he couldn't shake the thought, if he turned away from tomorrow's meeting, how deeply would the decision ripple through their family's future? Tomorrow was looming, a crossroad set upon their doorstep. Would he be bold enough to embrace this new path, or would fear hold him back? The glow of the community center's lights dimmed as Ethan and his daughters organized the last of their materials. The energy from earlier lingered, igniting sparks of optimism. Ethan glanced at the cheerful poster Lily had planned, its colors popping against the white paper. Bold letters screamed, "Help us make a difference." It made him smile. As they gathered their things, Lily's enthusiasm spilled over. "Can you imagine how many cookies we can make? And the games. Everyone will want to join." Mia nodded vigorously, her hair bouncing with excitement. "We should make a giant cookie for a contest. The biggest one ever. People will be like, wow." Their laughter echoed through the now empty room. Yet beneath the joy, Ethan felt a tightening in his chest as he thought of that meeting tomorrow. The stakes were high. He glanced down at his phone, weighing the gravity of the looming commitment against the buoyant joy in his daughters' faces. As they locked up, Mia slipped her hand into his. "Dad, we can do this, right? I mean, you and the cookies and all. We'll make it happen." She looked up at him, her faith unwavering. "Absolutely, kiddo," he replied, though doubt still lurked in the back of his mind. He wrapped an arm around both girls, pulling them close for a squeeze. It was in these moments that the possibility of success felt tangible. Walking home, the crisp air kissed his cheeks, and he drank in the familiar sights. The streetlights twinkled like stars while his heart wrestled with the weight of responsibility. He wanted nothing more than to dive into this family venture with both feet, but that other life, the one filled with financial security, nagged at him. It felt selfish to chase after dreams when his responsibilities loomed like a dark cloud overhead. When they reached home, the girls raced each other to the kitchen, eager to recount their plans to their grandmother, who sat at the table sipping tea. The warmth of the kitchen wrapped around Ethan, mixing comfort and a hint of nostalgia. He settled into a chair, allowing the familiar sounds of family life to soothe him. "Hey, Dad. Can you help us make a cookie recipe for our stand?" Mia shouted, her voice breaking him from his thoughts. "Of course." Ethan replied, pulling himself from the chair, determination igniting within him. As they gathered ingredients together, everything felt clearer. With the smell of butter and sugar filling the air, Ethan started mixing with the girls, the weight of his worries slowly dissipating. Flour dusted his arms and laughter erupted with each mess they made. There was simplicity in their chaos, joy in their creativity. Each scoop of dough felt like a step away from fear, bringing him closer to something greater. "What if we give away some cookies for people who donate?" Lily suggested, her brow furrowed in concentration. Ethan paused. It was a light bulb moment. Not only could they raise money, but they could also foster kindness within their community. "That's brilliant. Let us do it," he said, high on the thrill of her idea. With the cookie dough safely chilling in the fridge, the conversation shifted to the next day's plans. Excitement surged through them, intertwining their visions for the fundraiser. Yet still, a knot of anxiety twisted within Ethan. How would they really pull this off? What if he stuck with his original plan? Would he forsake this promising spark for the dull safety of a corporate meeting? As bedtime approached, Lily curled up against him, her little hands grasping for reassurance. "Dad, promise me we'll make the biggest cookie ever." "I promise," he murmured, but deep down, uncertainty simmered. That night, sleep evaded him, each tick of the clock pushing him closer to a decision he had yet to solidify. In the shroud of darkness, he stared at the ceiling, the weight of the future heavy on his chest. It was not just about cookies or fundraisers. This was about what kind of father he wanted to be, a man who let fear govern him or one who embraced joy, even when shadows threatened. As dawn broke and the first light shimmered across the sky, Ethan lay awake, heart racing, mind whirling. The clock ticked toward decision time, and with it came a single thought: would he stand firm in front of tomorrow's meeting, risking all, or take a step back, choosing the safe path instead? In that moment, he realized a choice had to be made. And whether it led to triumph or failure, he knew one thing: he had to make it for them. Ethan woke up to the sound of giggles, a sharp contrast to the turmoil in his mind. The girls were at it again, crafting plans for their cookie stand while the bright morning light streamed through the kitchen window. He felt the warmth of hope swell as he listened to their excited chatter. It was infectious, painting over his worries with a brush of optimism. Mia stood on a chair, pointing at a whiteboard they'd pulled into the kitchen, scribbling furiously with a bright red marker. "We should have a cookie competition. Everyone can vote for their favorite. The winner gets a prize. Like a trophy?" Lily chimed in, her eyes sparkling. "Or maybe even a gift card to the cupcake shop." Ethan couldn't help but smile. Their ideas were wild yet wonderful, and he felt a flicker of excitement ignite within him. This was what it meant to truly engage with life, to cast aside fear of the unknown and leap into the chaos surrounding their daring plan. "All right, ladies," Ethan finally said, trying to keep his tone playful. "Let us divide and conquer. One of you can handle the decorations, and the other can start on the cookie flavors. How about chocolate chip and oatmeal raisin?" Mia jumped off the chair, arms flailing. "Yes. I can handle the chocolate chips. And let us add sprinkles. Sprinkles make everything better. Why don't we have a cookie called Rainbow Surprise? We can hide something fun inside." Lily added, her voice laced with enthusiasm. "What if we hit a note that says something kind?" Ethan suggested, encouraged by their creativity. "Kindness is always a surprise." He watched the girls nod along, hearts brimming with excitement. But underneath his smile, the nerves fluttered like wild birds. Would kindness be enough to carry them through, or would tomorrow's meeting with the investors lead him away from this newfound joy? As the clock ticked louder, Ethan realized he needed more than ideas, he needed a plan. He pulled out his phone and made a list of supplies they would need for the stand and the giant cookie competition. Excitement buzzed in the air as they updated their thoughts with sketches, colors, and flourishes of inspiration. "Let us make an entry fee, a donation for people who want to vote," Mia exclaimed, her ideas gaining momentum. Ethan's heart raced, a mixture of worry and pride swelling within him. That could work. We could really engage the community and make a difference. However, as he helped the girls finalize their plans, that inner debate clawed back. The corporate meeting loomed over him like storm clouds. Could this truly be enough for them? Stabilizing his family was a priority, but who was he if he didn't pursue what set his heart ablaze? Lunch came quickly, and with it, a sudden knock on the door. It was their neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, a sweet old woman with a penchant for baked goods. She held a tray of cookies that smelled heavenly. "Thought you might need a little sample for taste testing," she said with a wink. Ethan's chest tightened at her kindness. Perhaps he wasn't entirely alone in this after all. Encouraged by this little moment of support, a bold idea blossomed in his mind. What if, besides selling cookies, they could invite the community to share their own cookie recipes. A community recipe swap could be an event all its own. Just as he shared this spark of inspiration, Mia and Lily clamored. Yes. Yes. They bounced in delight, their laughter filling the kitchen with warmth. Ethan felt a surge of energy. Then it settled. As he rallied the girls to brainstorm more ideas, he felt the weight of the world shift. There was power in community, hope in connection, and magic in following their dreams together. As the afternoon wore on, Ethan glanced at the clock once more, nerves dancing within him. Tomorrow would come swiftly, presenting a crossroad. He had to decide if he would step firmly into his aspirations or retreat into the dependable safety of the boardroom. With the day fading, Ethan looked at his two daughters, their faces lit up with excitement, and whispered a promise to himself. "I'll make my choice for you," he thought. What he didn't realize was that the choice he made could open doors he never thought possible, leading not just to their cookie stand as success, but to a revelation that could change everything. And in that moment, the door creaked again, this time with a rush of wind, as if the universe itself was breathing hope into their plans. What unexpected visitor would step into their lives next? The moment the door swung open, a figure stepped inside, a man with a crisp business suit and an air of confidence that momentarily startled Ethan. He was a tall man with sharp features, a quick smile, and an unmistakable aura of authority. Ethan froze, the warmth of the kitchen suddenly feeling chilled by the unexpected visitor. "Ethan Montgomery?" the man asked, his eyes scanning the room and ultimately landing on the girls, who froze mid-laughter with curious expressions. "Yes, that's me," Ethan replied, forcing a smile, though his pulse quickened. "Can I help you?" The man extended a hand, introducing himself as Thomas Gray, an investment consultant with an impressive resume. "I work with the board members you're meeting tomorrow," he stated, the weight of the revelation sinking in. "I wanted to get to know the person behind the idea before making any decisions." Ethan's heart raced. He felt a flurry of emotions. Was this a good surprise or a bad omen? "Oh, okay. Nice to meet you," he managed, feeling the gears of his mind churn. "What brings you here today?" "I heard about your cookie competition," Thomas said, intrigued. "That's a unique angle for community engagement. We need people like you innovators. But I also know there's a lot on the table, and I wanted to see what inspired you." Ethan glanced at the girls. They were silently enthralled, eyes glued to the stranger with a mix of wonder and anxiety. "It's just a small project, really," he said, attempting to temper the grandiosity of his own hope. "Small can make a big impact," Thomas countered, his voice brimming with just a hint of challenge. "Your daughters have brilliant ideas. They're the heart of this project, aren't they?" "Yes, they are," Ethan affirmed, feeling a swell of pride mixed with unease. He couldn't fully shake off the dread of tomorrow. What if his vision was seen as too whimsical? "Let me see what you've got planned," Thomas encouraged, gesturing toward the whiteboard. The meticulous sketches, vibrant colors, and enthusiastic words beckoned him, spilling out the girls' dreams in bright strokes. As Thomas scanned the board, his expression shifted into one of genuine interest. "This is fantastic. A cookie competition and community recipe swap. You've tapped into something special here. Imagine the stories behind those recipes." Ethan felt the walls he had constructed around his plans begin to tremble. How could he share his doubts with this man who seemed so convinced? But with the careful glance of his daughters illuminating the kitchen, he began to envision a path where fear didn't hold him back. "Thank you," Ethan said, his voice firmer now. "I think we can really create something meaningful. We want to connect with our neighborhood, share kindness through cookies." Thomas smiled, and even if skepticism lurked behind that smile, he nodded. "I see potential here. Business doesn't always have to be about numbers, it can be about heart." Mia raised her hand, interrupting with excitement. "And sprinkles." Lily giggled at her sister's enthusiasm, releasing the tension hanging in the air. Thomas chuckled, his expression softening, and Ethan couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope igniting. "I'll be back tomorrow to see how you're progressing," Thomas declared before standing up to leave. "Remember, dreams do require some hustle, but they start with a strong foundation. Keep that spirit alive." As the door closed behind him, Ethan was left holding his breath, the world outside feeling both thrilling and daunting. Could he really push forward, using this idea to not only support his family but weave a tapestry of connections throughout their community? Mia and Lily bounced with enthusiasm, and even if the uncertainties loomed overhead, Ethan allowed himself to imagine a future bursting with possibility. As they sketched out more ideas together, laughter echoed around the kitchen. He wondered, with the stakes heightening, with decisions looming dangerously close, what grounding point he would weigh in front of the investors. And in his heart, he pondered, what if this truly was the turning point? The answers felt tantalizingly close, yet just out of reach, but there would be a reckoning when dawn broke. The question rang clear: could he embrace the risk that came with hope, or would fear pull him back? Ethan stood in the kitchen, the laughter of his daughters swirling around him like fragrant dough rising in the warmth. Yet, within him, an unease simmered. The thought of Thomas's visit brought a mix of hope and dread. What if tomorrow didn't go as planned? What if their dreams crumbled as quickly as the cookies they intended to bake? Mia climbed onto the counter, her tiny legs dangling. "Daddy, can we make the cookie dough now?" Her face was a canvas of excitement, eyes sparkling with the thrill of creation. "Not just yet, sweet pea," Ethan said, managing a smile despite the weight on his heart. "Let us make a plan first. We want everything to be perfect for Mr. Gray. Yeah, and then he'll give us $1 million. Lily chimed in, her hands waving dramatically. Ethan chuckled softly, but inside, he felt the gravity of their expectations. He leaned against the counter, a self-appointed referee in their playful chaos. The ideas sketched across the whiteboard were alive now, dancing like butterflies in his mind. Each would require careful crafting, each corner turned toward a community he longed to embrace. "All right, my little bakers," he said, settling his nerves. "Let's talk about our big cookie competition. What's the first thing we need to do?" "Sprinkles." Mia shouted again, raising her hands as if casting a spell of joy. Lily giggled, shaking her head. "But that's the last thing. We need to find all the best recipes first." "Right," he said, finding comfort in their innocence. Together, they tossed ideas back and forth, a flurry of enthusiasm bubbling up like melting chocolate. Each suggestion felt like a thread weaving into the fabric of their dream, but as the shadows from the setting sun crept across the kitchen floor, the reality of the next day loomed large. The thought of presenting their vision filled him with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Part of him wanted to retreat into the familiar, to keep his heart safe from any potential failure. Suddenly, his phone chimed, snapping him from his reverie. It was a message from Thomas. "Looking forward to seeing the final plans tomorrow. Make it memorable." The words lit a fire within Ethan, sparking renewed determination. "Okay, change of plans," he declared, raising his fist in mock triumph. "We'll bake tonight. We'll make some test cookies and share them with Mr. Gray tomorrow." "Yay!" The girls cheered, leaping off the counter and racing to the pantry. Flour and sugar flew from shelves as they dove into their task, chaos reigniting the warmth in the room. As they sifted together flour, Ethan glanced at the whiteboard that had become a mosaic of dreams. Every sketch told a story, each word a promise of connection. He suddenly felt alive, as if the anxiety was melting away in the heat of their shared excitement. "Can we put chocolate chips in the dough?" Mia asked, her eyes wide, already picturing the gooey treats. "Definitely," Ethan replied, his heart swelling with the joy of simple pleasures. "And how about we give each cookie a unique name? Something that tells our story." Lily's eyes lit up. "Like Mom's loving chocolate and Dad's sprinkled delight." Ethan's laughter danced with theirs, and for a moment, he wasn't just a dad burdened by fear. He was a collaborator, a creator, and their dreams felt less like distant fantasies and more like tangible possibilities. As they began to mix the ingredients, the kitchen filled with the aroma of hope and sweetness, laughter ringing with every stir of the bowl. But in the back of his mind, a nagging thought lingered: could they truly turn their dreams into reality? And as they placed the first batch in the oven, the timer ticking down, Ethan wondered, what if tomorrow changes everything? The oven light flickered on, illuminating the warm kitchen, casting long shadows, as if heralding the night before a pivotal moment. Would it all come together, or would he wake up to find that the light of their hopes dimmed? Morning light spilled through the kitchen window, a warm glow that wrapped around Ethan and his daughters. The aroma of freshly baked cookies wafted through the air, mixing with the excitement unfolding in the room. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling a rush of anticipation and determination. Today was the day. "Dad, are you ready?" Lily asked, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm as she danced from foot to foot. Mia stood next to her, clutching a colorful stack of flyers, her eyes bright with hope. Ethan glanced over at the clock. The meeting loomed just hours away, but the chaos of cookie-making had brought them closer together, reminding him of what truly mattered. "I think so," he said, his confidence flaring. "We've worked hard for this, and now it's time to shine." Mia nodded enthusiastically, "And we have the best cookies. Everyone will love them." She bounced in place, a charming reminder that pure joy often came in small packages. As they prepared to head out, Ethan felt an array of emotions swell inside him. He'd spent so long chasing the material things that clouded what it meant to be a family. Now, standing beside his daughters, he knew this was the most important day of his life, not just for business but for his heart. "Let's pack the cookies in boxes," Lily suggested, already grabbing the containers. "And we can bring the flyers or they'll forget about the cookie competition." Ethan watched as they sprung into action, enthusiasm radiating from them. Before long, they had boxes full of cookies, decorated with stickers and drawings made from colorful markers. This wasn't just about baking, it was about connection and community, something he had overlooked for too long. When they finally arrived at the community center, it was alive with activity. Volunteers were bustling around, setting up tables and arranging decorations. Ethan felt a swell of pride as he spotted familiar faces filled with purpose: neighbors, families, and friends who had come together for a shared mission. "What do you think, Dad?" Mia looked up at him, her question layered with anticipation. "It's amazing," Ethan replied, feeling overwhelmed with emotion. "See all these people. They care. This is what community is about." Lily's face lit up, and with renewed energy, the three of them began to set up their stand. They positioned the colorful flyers, each one boldly proclaiming "Help us make a difference." And as Ethan stepped back to take in the moment, he felt that nagging worry from yesterday begin to fade. But then Thomas arrived, cutting through the warmth of the day, a businesslike pallor across his face. All eyes turned to him. "Ethan," Thomas said, glancing around. "Great turnout. I've been hearing some buzz about your cookie competition." "Yeah. We're excited." Mia beamed, a ball of energy and joy. Thomas chuckled, but there was a flicker of seriousness in his approach. "I want to have a chat with you, Ethan. About your business deal." An icy grip of anxiety returned. What did he want? With a glance at Lily and Mia, Ethan stepped aside, creating a barrier between their innocent excitement and the looming financial decision. "I know the community project means a lot to you," Thomas said, his eyes scanning the entryway, "but you need to consider the options at hand. The numbers can lead to substantial profit and sustainability." Ethan felt the pressure, but he couldn't ignore the sound of laughter and chatter pooling around him. He looked into the bustling room, where his daughters were delivering cookies, and for once, he wasn't hearing dollar signs. He was feeling the heartbeat of connection. "Thomas," he said, his voice steady, "I appreciate the opportunity that's on the table. But some things are worth more than profit. I want to be really here with my daughters and showing up for our community. That's worth everything to me." "Ethan, this could change your financial standing, Thomas began, but Ethan raised a hand to stop him. Could it? He interrupted, forcefully. Or could it take me away from what matters most? Lily and Mia had drawn closer, curious but ready to support their dad. Their presence bolstered him, and he felt a freshness of resolve. This is the life I want, full of laughter, togetherness, and purpose. It's not only about money anymore. It's about love. The tension hung thick in the air, and Ethan drew a deep breath, feeling a weight lift. I choose to build a legacy, but not the kind built on profits. A legacy full of heart. Thomas's expression softened slightly, but he remained skeptical. Just remember the opportunities at hand, he reminded Ethan before he walked away. Turning back, Ethan saw the joy radiating from Lily and Mia, and it filled him with renewed energy. Let us get back to our cookies, he declared, joining their table. The hour raced by as families began to gather around them, the warmth, laughter, and joy blending into an atmosphere charged with hope. Each cookie represented a small piece of love, and Ethan realized that he was finally creating a bond he cherished. As the evening wrapped up, the cookie competition was a resounding success. Hearts were touched, community ties strengthened, and through it all, Ethan found himself embracing the future that lay in front of him, a future built around connection, kindness, and laughter. Look, Dad! People loved them. Mia shouted, her eyes gleaming with pride. You made the right choice. Ethan looked at his daughters, and as they huddled together, arms linked, he felt the warmth of just being there with them wash over him. This was the moment, the beginning of a new chapter, where wealth was merely a backdrop to the richness of family and community. He knelt down, wrapping them both in a hug, embracing not their past but their shared future. Let us keep making a difference together, he said with tears of joy welling in his eyes. In that moment, Ethan knew that true connection wasn't just a choice, it was a commitment, and he was finally ready to step into his role as a father, a friend, and a beacon of hope for those around him. Together, they embarked on a beautiful journey, where ambition met heart, and every cookie baked would tell a story of love. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel, so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and encourage more heartwarming journeys. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who could use a little inspiration in their lives. Let us spread the love.